Good day, Sir Marcel and everyone. My name is Alice.Birchweissë. I study as a Bachelor in Human Capital Management, and today I will be presenting my individual assignment 2 for the commercial law. So for this assignment, I require to analyze the several legal scenario which based on the Malaysian law, the Malaysian contract law. So specifically, the question is actually focused on two important areas, which are the law of agency and also another which what do we call the law of contract. So to ensure a clear and structured analysis, I will be brief in IRSC method, which starts with the issue, the regulation, the application, and also the last is conclusion. So this method it helps to clearly identify the legal problem, apply the relevant law, and reach the proper legal conclusion. In this presentation, I will be covering 5 questions. So each question highlights a different legal principles. So each of it that includes the agency and ratification, the frustration of contract, the intention to create a legal relation, the offer and acceptance, and questions. So without wasting our time, I will explain each question step by step using the IRC structure. Now I will start with the question 1, which concern the agency and ratification. So in this scenario, Corinne appointed Holly as her real estate agent to purchase a house on her behalf. But Holly, as an agent, the agency is expected to follow the Corinne's instructions strictly. But the problem arises when agent goes beyond the authority given. So now let's refer the issue at the first. So what is the main issue here is whether the Corinne's acceptance of the contract amounts is valid ratification, even though she only accept a part of the agent's actions. For the regulation, according to the section 152 of the Contract Acts in 1950, the ratification must done in its entirely, means the principal must either accept the whole transaction or reject it completely lah. The partial ratification is not allowed under the Malaysian contract law. What about the application? So the application is Korean in structure Holly to buy a 3-bedroom terrace house, which price it costs 2800,000 ringgit, with located at near her office. However, Holly instead purchased an apartment at a higher price, which is 3200,000 ringgit, and agree with 10% deposit, which payable within 1 week. So when Corinne was informed, she agreed with the purchase price, but she refused to pay the full 10% deposit. So which means she only agreed with only 5%. So this clearly shows that the Corinne accepted only part of the transaction, instead not the whole of contract. So for the conclusion, is Corinne action amounts to partial ratification, which is invalid under the section 152. As the result, Corinne is not legally bound by the contract entire. Sorry, Corinne is not legally bound by the contract entered into by Holly. So this is all from the question 1. Now I will move into question 2. Okay, question 2, which I will discuss about the question 2, which focus on the frustration of contract. So this question involves the situation where the where a contract cannot be performed due to an unexpected event beyond the control and both parties. So for the issue here is whether the cancellation of the National Day display has frustrated the contract between the Natalnya and Janus Botworth Sendrian Berhad. So for the regulation under the section 57 of the Contract Act 1950, the contract become void when performance become impossible or unlawful. So this principle supported by the case Creel v. Henry, where the court held that when the main purpose of contract is destroyed or the contract wait if the contract is destroyed, so the contract will be counted as frustrated. For the application, the Natanya hired bought for 20,000 ringgit for specifically view the National Day display. But she paid for 8,000 ringgit as a deposit with the remaining balance to be paid later. So this is the deposit she paid for. But on the day of the event, the display has cancelled due to the heavy rain and storm, which was uneven beyond the control of both parties. So since the entire purpose is hiring, the both was to view the display. The contract can no longer be fulfilled. So the conclusion is the contract is frustrated and void, which Natanya is entitled to refund of 8,000 ringgit, and Janus Botworth cannot claim the remaining of 12,000 ringgit. Okay, moving on to the question number three, the question number three, which involves the intention to create a legal relations. So this question shows how intention can be formed, even when the formal written agreement does not exist yet. So what is the issue of this case? Is the issue is whether the binding contract exists despite the praise subject to agreement. So what about the regulation? So in contract law, the intention can be determined not only through the written words, but also through the conduct of the parties. So which means when both parties act as though the contract exists, the law may recognize it as a legally binding. Okay, so that's the regulation for the. What about for the application? Okay, so for the application, we can see that the Iliad accepted the Kaufman's proposal, but started that formal agreement that will be prepared later. So, despite all this, the craftsman contractor begins the construction work immediately. So, in occur the cost and labor, the Iliad's cover what do we call the Alias cover PVT Ltd, sorry, allowed the work to continue without objection. So this conduct indicates that the both parties intended to create a legal relation. So next is the conclusion. So thus a binding contracts exist and Elias Carver is liable to pay craftsman contractors for the work completed. So there is the question number three. So now I will move to the question number four. Okay, question number four, offer and acceptance. So the this question highlighted how the negotiation can affect contract formations. So for the issue is whether the extra second letter in result in the valid contract. The regulation, according to the height and range when the counter offer is made, so the original offer will be automatically terminated. For the application, the Molly offer application Molly offer a thousand ringgit to buy to buy the scarf, but Alextra replied with the counter offer of 1,003, which cancelled the original offer. Since Molly did not accept the counter offer, so Alextra cannot later revive the original of 8,000 offer. So for the conclusion, there is no contract was formed between the Alextra and Molly. So that's all for the question four. All right, the last question, the question number five. So the question number five is about the coercion. Yeah, the coercion. So what is the issue here? The main issue here is whether the contract can be set aside due to the coercion. That's the issue. For the regulation, question the question case under the section 15 of the Contract Act 1950, the question includes the threat forbidden by penal code. So under the question 19, the contract formed under the question is avoidable at the option of the victim. What about the application? The uh, what is it? The Gia, Giacinta. Okay. Giacinta signed the contract while being surrounded by the Gustav and his gang. So clearly fearing, so that obviously that fearing for her life. And once she was safe, and there is no longer under the threat, she decided to set aside the contract. So the conclusion is the contract is voidable when the Giacinta has the legal rights to cancel it. Okay, so for the final conclusion, to conclude my presentation, these are the key point that I have learned from this assignment, which the ratification must be complete, not partial. That is the first. The second is the contract is frustrated when the purpose is destroyed. Okay. The third is to conduct. The conduct can create the legal intention. The fourth is counter offer, terminate original offer, and the lastly, which is the caution that makes the contract voidable. So I think that's all for me, and thank you so much, Sil, for your time and attention. So that's all from my presentation. Thank you.